Honorable RAS MUBARAK.
I'm very grateful, Right Honorable Speaker. The Speaker, two quick issues. The first is an urgent question I filed in respect of the Kelny GVG issue. It has not found expression in the business statement for next week, and I'm wondering whether there are specific timelines within which urgent questions should be addressed. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, when you took the chair, you indicated that there wasn't any communication to or for Mr. Speaker. But we are hearing this morning that one of our colleagues has been picked up by the police. And I'm wondering on what authority would the police be inviting or picking up a member of Parliament without recourse to the Speaker of Parliament. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Deputy Minister for Communications to respond to the questions filed on the order paper. The first question stands in the name of the Honourable Member for Kumbungu. Honourable Member, you may now ask your question.
Right Honourable Speaker, I'm very grateful. This is to ask the Minister for Communications the expenditure breakdown of the digital address system which was launched by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government of Ghana, led by His Excellency the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is implementing its plan to digitize the economy of Ghana, introducing a number of innovations in 2017. Notable among them is the National Digital Property Addressing System, NDPAS, which is sponsored by the Ministry of Communications and implemented by the Ghana Post Company Limited. The National Digital Property Addressing System was officially launched by His Excellency the President on the 18th of October 2017 to provide digital addresses for every property in Ghana, which would improve the efficiency of doing government business using ICT as the enabler. Mr. Speaker, the National Digital Property Addressing System would also provide the following benefits to the nations. Establishment of re-engineered and automated digital addressing system, which is critical for effective implementation of national identification and address referencing database. National Digital Property Addressing System will facilitate the formalization of the economy as it provides unique digital addresses for properties and businesses for easy identification and tracking of relevant institutions. National Digital Property Addressing System is one of the many key initiatives that will transform Ghana Post to revamp its operations and spur up the home delivery and support businesses in both urban and rural areas. Mr. Speaker, the supplier or software developer has delivered 95% in terms of project implementation. With regard to the implementation of the project, a total of 10,996,396 cedis and 9 pesos was allocated to Ghana Post Limited, comprising of 9,994,820 Ghana cedis and 29 pesos for their software supplier developer, that's Vodacom Limited, and 1,001,575.8 Ghana cedis to Ghana Post for project implementation or operational cost. An amount of Ghana cedis 9,495,000 79.28 cedis, representing 95% of the 9,994,820.29 Ghana cedis has been paid to the supplier. The remaining 5% will be paid at project completion. The details are captured in the table titled Details of Supplier Software Developer Cost. And Mr. Speaker, at this point, I would like to beg your approval for the table office and for members to refer to the table and to deem the table as being read and understood. Mr. Speaker, with respect to the operational cost, a total amount of 1,001,575.8 Ghana cedis has been expended, and the details are also captured in the table in the document. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I would request for the table office to capture this table and to deem for members to have understood the table. Mr. Speaker, it is necessary to note that the 9,994,820.29 being spent on the National Digital Property Addressing System will provide the system and has taken care of the marketing and publicity so far. However, the government may have to spend some more on marketing and publicity so as to ensure that every Ghanaian everywhere knows about the Ghana Post GPS and can have their digital addresses. Mr. Speaker, with regards to how much has been paid to Google, we wish to indicate that Ghana Post has no direct relationship with Google, and Google cost was not part of the scope, and therefore no money was paid to Google by Ghana Post as part of the project cost. However, data received from Vodacom, who have a direct relationship with Google, indicates that outside the original scope of the project, and as a value-added opportunity, a total amount of United States dollars 1,395.64 has been paid for the standard level usage of the Google Map on the National Digital Property Addressing System from September 2017 to date to Google. Additional payments from Vodacom may be made based on usage and other considerations. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the Minister's response. Can the Minister tell the House if he's aware that the company that won the bid for the application has a different application running under a different name? And if he's not aware, would the Minister be kind to investigate and furnish this House with key findings of his investigations? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member, I believe, is referring to the application called Asare-GPS. Is that right? I just want to find out whether that is the application that he's talking about that is running in parallel, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that's right.
Okay. So Asare-GPS is a generic...
Honourable Deputy Minister, usually after your submissions, you put off your mic. If not, you shut me off and I can't communicate. That's why you've been talking to each other without my intervention. Because I should admit the question before you answer. But I couldn't communicate. But you go on, and next time just put it off so that I can assist.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Asare-GPS is a generic solution. What we have, the Ghana Post National Property Addressing System, is what is licensed for use in Ghana. So what we are doing is we are working with the National digital property addressing system, which is what Vodacom has developed specifically for Ghana, and that's what we are working with. As far as Asase GPS is concerned, we have had discussions with Vodacom, and we have come to an agreement that they should shut down Asase GPS as far as the Ghana market is concerned. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, your second supplementary question.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister tell the House if the Ghana GPS digital address system is the same as Google GPS? And if not, what are the differences?
Yes, Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think all members of the House should not confuse GPS with the National Digital Property Addressing System. The GPS component of the National Digital Property Addressing System is just the navigation component. Google GPS is for navigation, so they are not the same thing. They are totally different things. Thank you very much.
Yes, your last supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, I think he has not answered the question, but I have one key last question to ask, which is in respect of the type of procurement that you use in awarding this particular contract. Thank you.
Deputy Minister. Is the type of procurement.
Mr. Speaker, it went through competitive tendering, Mr. Speaker.
Chief Whip, let me give you a backbench. Yes, Honorable RAS MUBARAK.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm very grateful. Last week, a couple of issues were raised. One of them was the issue in relation to the National Identification Authority. There was indication that a committee of the whole would be briefed yesterday, the 31st of May. Unfortunately, it didn't come on. And looking at the interest it has generated in the public, it would be very useful if the House could be briefed as soon as possible, and whether the Chief Whip could give an indication as to when that would be. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, an issue was raised by one of my colleagues, the Honourable Governor Abuja, in respect of the construction works around Parliament House. Mr. Speaker, we're just asking for information. We don't know what kind of construction it is.
That has been done.
That has been done. I've been told that has been taken care of. So thank you very much.
Honorable.
We're very grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. This statement is very useful, particularly at this time, when there are enormous concerns about the way plastic is hampering our environment and especially marine life. Mr. Speaker, there are a few things that all of us would have to endeavor to do. One of them is public education. We don't seem to have enough public education on the dangers of plastic waste to our society. So I would encourage the Ministry of Environment to endeavor to up the campaign against the plastic waste menace in our society, because a lot of people are unaware of the scourge. Now, Mr. Speaker, there are companies we should also engage, companies who produce plastic or plastic material. How can we get them to ensure that they produce material that can be reused, so that they don't end up in the environment, they don't end up hampering our water bodies? Another significant thing, Mr. Speaker, a lot of us every now and then will be chewing gum. Chewing gum also has some element of plastic. And if you go to places like Norway, there are some places you can't just drop gum after you've chewed it. You would be fined some monies. So we must reduce the amount of gum we chew and the way we throw them about, because they also end up getting clogged up in the ground. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to emphasize on the bit to get households to sift the amount of plastic material that they use. In various homes, they normally have bins where the garbage collectors would come and collect these bins after they are filled up. Let's make sure that we have separate bins for plastics and separate bins for other waste materials, so that recycling what has been used would become a lot more easier. So, Mr. Speaker, I would commend the maker of the statement and would emphasize on the need for serious public education at our school level, in our various churches, and even in the markets, where just about everything you buy at the marketplace would come with one form of plastic or the other. And I believe if we encourage and educate people on the dangers it poses to us and our children in the future, people would begin to use material that can be recycled instead of depending on plastic materials. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from the statement ably presented by the Majority Chief Whip, there seemed to be a rescheduling of the meeting with officials of the National Identification Authority. Now, this is the second week running, Mr. Speaker, that this particular issue has been rescheduled. And I'm wondering whether there would be guarantees again that in the ensuing week, the meeting or the appearance of the NIA in the House would not be rescheduled. Because they are coming here to give us a briefing. It's very, very important. Ghanaians are asking a lot of questions. And for 2 weeks running, we keep postponing their appearance in the House. Mr. Speaker, secondly, there's an issue about disability access. I know that a couple of our colleagues are having difficulty accessing the premises, and the chamber particularly. I would plead that something could be done about it as a matter of urgency. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I think this would have been the 6th time that over the last 1 month, members have had to raise issues about quorum. We have our children who normally would come to observe parliamentary proceedings, and Ghanaians generally, watching to see how seriously we are taking business of the House. And Mr. Speaker, if you are in the chair and members come in before you come, that's disrespectful to the chair. And members would have to live by example by showing reverence to the Speaker's chair by being in the House before the Speaker comes in. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful. And I should like to commend the Majority Leader for the statement presented to the House. Mr. Speaker, I filed a motion, and I am wondering, the motion was in respect of requesting the House to instruct the Committee on Communications to look into residual issues surrounding the Kelny GVG thing. And I was wondering whether it may find expression sometime next week. Mr. Speaker, I say so because those of us on this side of the House may at some point next week be unavailable due to some exercises within our constituencies. And once one has filed a motion, it will be very important to know whether it will be tabled just so one can avail himself to the House. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Question star 396, who stands in the name of Honorable Mubarak, Honorable Member for Kumbungu.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm very grateful. My question is to ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration whether Ghana has any diplomatic relations with the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, according to the United Nations Security Council Resolution 541, the creation of Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus on the 15th of November 1983 is deemed incompatible with the 1960 Treaty of Guarantee, which established the Republic of Cyprus. UN Security Council Resolution 541 deplores the declaration of the Turkish Cypriots authorities of the purported secession of part of the Republic of Cyprus and considers the declaration as legally invalid and called for its withdrawal. Mr. Speaker, the international community, with the exception of Turkey, does not recognize the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus as a sovereign state. The international community considers Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus as part of the Republic of Cyprus. Mr. Speaker, since Ghana is a committed member of the UN, it upholds the decision of the UN Security Council and therefore has no diplomatic relations with the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, I have just one follow-up on this particular question. And there are quite a number of Ghanaian students in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, approximately 153 Ghanaian students. Now, for the purposes of sports, culture, and education, with the ministry, consider harmonizing relationship with the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, especially when conditions, existing conditions in 1983 are non-existent.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to abide by the UN Security Council resolution and until such time that it is reviewed, we would abide by it. Thank you. Those students who are there on their own. They are not through the government in any shape or form. So I think that it does not affect or it does not warrant us to establish relations with that country. Thank you.
Honorable, any further follow-ups?
No further follow-ups, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your next question, Honorable Mubarak.
Mr. Speaker, this one is to ask again the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration whether
Is to ask
the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration whether there are plans to open an embassy of Ghana in the state of Palestine.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the ministry is currently undertaking a rationalization exercise of all Ghana missions abroad, including an evaluation of the work of our various missions. Based on the report of the rationalization exercise, the government has not yet taken a decision to open a mission in the state of Palestine. Mr. Speaker, I must, however, state that in countries where there are no resident missions, our missions in neighboring countries are concurrently accredited to those countries and mandated to strengthen and deepen relations with them. In that regard, Mr. Speaker, our mission in Cairo, Egypt, is concurrently accredited to the State of Palestine and actively oversees Ghana's relations with that state. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has had diplomatic relations with the State of Palestine since 1986 and would continue to consolidate our bilateral cooperation with the State of Palestine for the mutual benefits of the two countries. Mr. Speaker, regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Ghana believes in the two-state solution, which envisages an independent state of Palestine living alongside the state of Israel in peace. In this regard, Ghana will continue to support all efforts by the international community to bring a lasting solution to the conflict and ensure a durable peace in the region. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, any further?
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful. I do not have any further question except to thank her for making time to appear.
Thank the Honorable Minister. We don't, in Parliament, don't say thank her, thank him.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful to thank the Honorable Minister for appearing to answer the question, and indeed to thank the Right Honorable Speaker.
You have no further question?
I have no further question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I'm grateful, Right Honorable Speaker. The Speaker, I rise to comment on the business statement presented by the Majority Leader, and in doing so, I wish to pick up on an item he mentioned, which has to do with extended sittings. Mr. Speaker, it is not that members of Parliament are unwilling to have extended sittings, but it becomes a bit worrying if we wait while the session is in process till the tail end of the sitting, then we pile up work. Sometimes it doesn't get the best of us. So mine would be an appeal that indeed, once we come and there are enormous amount of work to do, let's get on with it instead of waiting till the tail end of the session when we begin to pile up work and have extended sittings that could even late in the night. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope that this will be taken on board in good faith. I thank you.
Yes. Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, mine is an application to the Right Honorable Majority Leader to endeavor, Mr. Speaker, indeed, if we were to pick up lessons from what happens in Westminster, then of course the Majority Leader could also be addressed as Right Honorable. But Mr. Speaker, an application to him to indicate if there are moments when questions that have been advertised would be taken off the order paper, because we've had instances where questions are advertised and then the next moment when those who are responsible for those questions expect those questions to be in the order paper, we tend not to find them in the order paper. So, Mr. Speaker, I would appeal that, there'll be some arrangement to inform members adequately, because we are encouraged to be present in the House when we have questions to ask. And indeed, if you endeavor to avail yourself only to realize that your question has been knocked off the order paper, it's a bit of an inconvenience. So if that application could be taken into consideration. Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful.
Thank you very much. Question, ordinary question, star 425. Honorable Member for Kumbungu.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, before I ask my question, I would request for your guidance answers have not been provided for my ordinary question. And I am wondering whether you could provide guidance in that respect. There was no answers, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister, have you provided us with answer to question?
Mr. Speaker, because of the urgent question that I was coming to answer, I think my directors got a little bit confused and they thought it was going to be an urgent question. So I got the answer that could have answered it for an agency. But then I realized that it should have been published. So I've passed on the answer to the table office, and the clerk is working on it now. And then, since it wasn't published, Mr. Speaker, I want to also request that I come back to answer this in addition to the urgent question again on Tuesday. I'd rather have the answer. If you permit and the House will allow that, I can answer it as an urgent question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable owner of the question, you may agree to have this answered on Tuesday, or if you can proceed without an advertised answer, you may do so. The pleasure is yours.
Mr.
You are the
Speaker,
owner of the question.
I would wait until Tuesday so that the minister would appear before the House to answer the question. I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable.